Okay, can we have a motion to go back into open session?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public comments.
Yay.
Presentation none. Finance, treasurer's report. I'm sorry, yes, we have a motion.
Okay.
For what?
In the executive session, I have a motion. I'd like to recommend that we offer Rick Pembroke a contract with the changes recommended by Catherine in executive session, with an additional merit value of $5,000 to be added on to the salary for the fiscal year of 2015, and that this contract is to be offered and signed within 30 days. Second.
I'll second it.
Second, but just
Discussion.
That's after the already agreed upon raise.
That's right.
So there's a regular raise and then a $5,000 raise.
That's correct. And that it needs to be reviewed and approved within 30 days.
Total of seven.
Contract.
The contract.
And I'll just make the clarification that that will carry forward in the next year in the salary. It's not a one-time payment, it's in the salary to be added.
Starts going for,
That's correct. I said,
That's right.
it starts July 1st, and that's for the year 50. That would be year 15, 2015.
Yep, 14, 15.
that part, it starts
July 1, 14.
July 1,
July 1.
2014 it starts.
yes, yep.
Okay, we have a motion, second on the floor. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. Against? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Abstentions? Could you give me the against again, so I can name them and, when,
Oh, for Richard.
Richard takes the minutes, you'll know who it was. It was George, Fran, and Ray against.
Right,
Ray.
right.
Ray, I'm sorry, the rest of it.
And are you, did you vote, Ken, or are you abstaining?
He doesn't have to, he's a chair.
Only in a tie. All right, we're going on to
Okay, now, treasurer's
finance.
report.
Motion to accept.
We have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Okay, unanimous? Okay, food service contract renewal.
One more. Are the numbers in there?
The same contract you've had for the last 4 years. This is the final year of the contract. This fall, we'll be starting our exhaustive process of going out for an RFP and evaluating prospective bidders on a new contract. They've done a great job for us. They've exceeded their guarantee of $35,000 to us. I think this year we're going to be somewhere to the good of about $70,000.
Oh, easily.
It's been a good program.
Even though they have a multi-year, we still have to approve every year.
Yes. It's a
One-year
fun,
contracts. They're five one-year contracts of which you can get out of, they can't.
right.
Okay. So I move we approve the
Second.
renewal of the contract for the food service.
Second.
Question? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, C, something added here. North Bennington Prudential Committee request for adjustment to fiscal year 14's assessment.
In your packet, you have the breakout that Rick prepared.
Oh, you do, you gave them a hard copy of this?
Yeah, they should have in their packet that I just gave them. It's a sheet that looks like this. It's an Excel spreadsheet in red and black, and it should be right behind the Abbey contract.
I don't understand it.
Okay, Ray, you want to explain, or Rick?
You want to, Ray would,
Explain the spreadsheet?
I would assume, I would
right.
suggest Ray make the motion,
Yeah, I need to make a motion.
and if it's seconded, then we can have a conversation.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead, Ray, and I'll second.
Yeah, so the motion I wrote was to apply $27,063 of the expected SVSU administrative assessment in FY14 to reduce North Bennington's payment of its FY14 administrative assessment. Of this amount, $1,014 is the portion of this surplus of the $27,000 at least that would otherwise have been applied to our FY16 administrative assessment and will not be available to reduce North Bennington's FY16 administrative assessment.
That's the motion?
That's the motion.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would offer that, well, last time I remarked on the fact that in the FY15 budget, we've already taken into account some changes in the assessments to reflect adjusted services for North Bennington. And I made the remarks that I do not see why those are not applicable to this year, since they're essentially a very similar set of operations. And in particular, just for an example, I would make the following point. I believe in that administrative assessment is an assessment for curriculum, instruction, professional development, and assessment, which I think is around $24,000 itself, and our children receive no benefit whatsoever from that particular expenditure of money. And there are other things that could be brought up about that.
Go with it.
I think
But
it's,
I was wondering, we made a motion in a second, and you hadn't went into to say that yet, to make it a formal for this discussion, that's all. I think you're discussing that part. So we had a motion, and I second it,
yes.
and I hadn't heard from Ken yet.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
Thank you, Leon.
I'm not going to repeat what I just said, though.
right.
Okay.
You all in favor of the motion?
Well, I have a
Wait,
question.
wait. Rick, I think should,
Okay.
you need discussion and Rick to explain the spreadsheet.
So, just for the context of what's taking place, the process for setting these assessments is during the budget time. The last 2 years, you set the assessments. FY14 assessments were adjusted for North Bennington as a non-operating district. So they've already received a lesser assessment in FY14 than they would have if they were operating the building. North Bennington made further arguments at this last budget go-around for FY15, and we have in fact totally changed the assessment structure on behalf of North Bennington for FY15 and going forward. There's a possibility that they may come back and ask for further adjustments in FY16 and beyond, and that's fine, and that's perfectly within their purview to do that. This was a budget and a revenue assessment stream that was set up over a year and a half ago to fund the SU functions going forward. This board, per statute, set those assessment rates. If the motion is positive and you reduce their assessment by $27,000, every district in the SU will lose money in the form of a fund balance to offset their FY16 assessments. So those assessments will immediately go up by those numbers that are shown on the sheet.
Well,
I
you're
just-
talking, sorry,
just-
may
I just
I
want-
interject one comment about that? You're talking about FY16, right?
Correct.
So they're saying they immediately go up is as if they're set in stone, and they're not set in stone. They're something that will be worked out with the districts through the finance committee in that budgeting period, right?
Not with,
No, that's the expense side. This
right.
revenue side, you are basically taking revenue away from the SU, which will reduce its fund balance, which will reduce the revenue in FY16 to reduce the assessments in FY16.
I'm sorry, I
Oh.
misunderstood what you were saying.
The
in that regard.
only thing that is the wild card is North Bennington's share. In FY14, it's 3.75%.
Yeah.
FY15, it's something different. It might be 3.78 or something. In FY16, it might be 3.72. But those change based on equalized pupils on an annual basis. But it's going to be in that ballpark. And those numbers are pretty reflective of the numbers that you are basically saying transfer from your district to North Bennington's district. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
I still go back to this point, you know, the clearest example is that curriculum assessment and professional development, we receive, no children in our district receive services from the benefit of those services during this year. And there are other examples, but that's a substantial one that's very close to the number that we're talking about now. Cindy?
If I can remember correctly, I thought the SU board already went through this with North Bennington, and we calculated what they weren't going to use, and we already took it out. Why are we here again?
The reductions that Rick talks about in FY14 are reductions that he made because we don't have a building that operates. And, you know, he could state what they are better than I can, but one of them is that we don't, according to him, we don't have access to what was the Congress Street program and is now on point. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. But this,
And there, you know, that was a fair, and also
ELL
another one is ESL.
ELL services,
Yeah. ELL, sorry.
English language, well, they used to be ESL, so
Yes,
it's not
there's-
Yeah, they've
surprising.
changed
Essentially the
it.
same,
English
right?
language learners.
Change next week, too.
Right. So those reductions were made because, in fact, the point that we've been making was admitted that we have no access to them. We have no access to curriculum assessment and professional development either. Yeah.
so taking them out now and taking this out, they won't be back in here
No,
next year. This is gonna be out,
they're out next year.
they
yes.
out
We-
next
we
year. So
already-
what's question is right now,
Question is
That's all.
having to pay for them when you're not receiving them now.
Right.
That's the question. And since there is, you know, I wouldn't ask this, but there is going to be a surplus, so I'm asking for the discretion of this board to make this right for us. Thank you.
Was this a request that was made a year and a half ago during the budgeting process?
I made requests, and we altered that budget a number of times due to the requests of the Bennington School District, because Bennington's budget hadn't passed and they needed to keep changing it in order to accommodate demands of their public.
And yes,
We were, I don't know why we weren't accorded the opportunity to argue for these during those adjustments, but I did cease voting for those budgets because it was being held against us that we had voted for the first one, which I thought the districts needed to get on with producing their own budget. And I always felt that we didn't have as full a conversation as we should have had in the Finance and Budget Committee about this issue, because it should have been resolved there, as far as I'm concerned. It could have been resolved there. And in fact, what changes happened in the FY 14-15 budget occurred at that level due to consideration that administrators brought to that committee. I thought they should have been brought forward the previous year because the considerations are essentially the same.
Fran, you got a question?
Yeah, every time there's that maybe North Bennington wants a reduction, all the other districts are gonna have to pay that, correct? That's gonna raise our budgets.
Matt,
Well, this will increase your budget in FY16. It'll increase your assessments based on roughly these amounts. There may be slight differences based on the equalized pupils at that point in time.
Right.
But the assessment stream was, as I recall, thoroughly debated, not only in the budget committee work sessions, but also at the board level to set this FY14 assessment streams. It was vigorously debated this last year, set in FY15, and they were adjusted again. And nothing says that it's not going to continue to evolve, but statute says this body, actually statute says, in paraphrasing, that assessments will be based on per pupils within the districts unless otherwise agreed to by this body. This has been agreed to. This is at the 11th and a half hour. The assessments were sent out last July 1st. They started paying the assessments. North Bennington has withheld this portion of their assessment out of their bill. Technically, they owe it to the district, to the supervisory union, unless you forgive this obligation to them.
I think at the last time, we actually gave them more than what they asked for the first time.
For next year?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They're getting
okay.
some considerable concessions next
Okay,
year.
I can't see putting more of a burden on the other districts. I understand what Ray's asking for. But at this point, we gave them more the first time than they had actually asked for.
What do you mean, Fran?
Well, I don't know I don't have the numbers here in front of me. If they were, for example, if you were asking like, for the sake of argument, 50,000, I think we gave you 60,000 as an example. I don't know what the exact numbers
I
are.
don't think that's correct.
Like I said, I don't know what the
Yeah,
exact numbers are. I don't
I
have
think
them.
that's something that we're not going to
Yeah,
come to an
but
agreement on. I don't
myself,
think it's correct.
yeah, myself is, I'm not willing to give any more concessions on this. I think for being a private school,
No, we're not a private school.
whatever it is.
It's the district. It's the
Independent, yeah.
public district we're talking about. Which is the whole point. I will iterate again. It's obviously not having much impact, but the fact is that there are services we cannot receive for our children. They are being provided by the schools that they attend, which are, in one case, there's a child attending Shasberry, but there's 2 children attending Highland Hall, 2 children attending Southshire, and 118 equivalents attending the Village School of North Bennington.
And one at the middle.
All the services that are being billed that aren't being received are provided by those schools, and that's a considerable amount. It's a double taxation as far as we're concerned. And I am fine, I don't think there's more to be said here. I think none of you, if you were in this position, would want to be paying for things that you couldn't access.
But why wasn't this brought up at budget time and not now?
It was brought up, but it didn't get the full discussion that it should have gotten at the time.
Is there a motion?
There is a motion.
The
Yep.
motion is,
The motion, do you want me to repeat it?
Motion was that, and I second it, that we authorize the,
Well, I can
Go ahead,
repeat
Ray.
it, I just gotta find it again here.
Go ahead.
Shoot.
Ray's asking for a reduction.
it's North Bennington's request for a reduced assessment.
Here, I can read it exactly. The motion is to apply $27,063 of the expected surplus of the SVSU administrative assessments in FY14 to reduce North Bennington's payment of its FY14 administrative assessment. Of this amount, $1,014 is the portion, it's relates to that 27,000. It's the portion of that amount of surplus that would otherwise have been applied to North Bennington's FY16 administrative assessment. That shows up in the spread, the Excel sheet of how the cost of this gets spread. 1,014 gets spread back to us and will not be available to reduce North Bennington's FY16 administrative assessment. That was the motion.
Jim?
Yeah.
There was a second from,
This money is for the year we get finished.
Correct. It's not finished yet, but the year we are finishing.
Finished right now.
Yep.
Is it calculable exactly on next third Tuesday, how much in fact North Bennington owes? Is that a calculable number? Is that subject to debate?
Well, everyone else has paid 100% of their assessments. North Bennington has not paid $27,063 of their assessment. That's what's owed. I'm assuming your definition of owed is something different.
No, that's what he legally owes.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, now that the year has ended, we can put all the numbers together and see how much, you calculate how much they should have paid and how much we should have paid.
No, that money rolls into the fund balance in FY16, which I said here on the document, which will reduce your assessment in FY16.
Third way, are Ray's arguments provable by you, or anybody with them?
I don't know what the definition of provable is. I don't believe the argument is valid, because I think the argument was made, or should have been made, or could have been made better a year and a half ago when these assessment streams were set. And they were fully debated. This body took action and said, we will set our assessments at this. And
Thank you. I have a question for Ray. Are you saying they made a mistake?
I'm saying they did not get fully discussed in that Budgeting and Finance Committee. And here I've provided you one very concrete example, and I'm a little uncertain what the actual assessment portion is for this, but curriculum, professional development, and assessment. Our children receive nothing from this. It's just money that we are expected to contribute on the basis of our percentage, which is 0.0375, I guess, in 14. It showed as 7.7, but I guess it's trivial difference. And that's out of that total budget for curriculum, assessment, etc., which was I think around $600,000 in FY14.
I'm going to give you that number in a minute, Ray.
Sorry, what?
I'll give you that number in a minute, just so we
Okay.
have the facts on the table.
So
Another round of budget's coming up.
that's like 20, I thought it was 24, but it looks like I have 22 and a half, 22,648 or so. Out of that, the number I have, which was 600,738. So that's just a clear example. So it's the clearest one I
So
know.
600, 738, and the 3.75% would be 22,527, if that's your argument.
Right, that's it.
Would you hold your claim in abeyance till the next budget round?
I actually, I would hold our claim in advance to the what?
The next budget round. We'll consider, it can be considered in due process. It seems a little after the fact. Because Powell has a budget, we paid it, and now we're gonna get another bill, and they're gonna say, why did you and Cindy vote for this? Whatever the
Right.
bill is, whether it's nominal or not.
Whatever you mean.
Can we settle up in 3 or 4 months during the budget process? If in fact we're wrong, we're wrong. I think no one here is trying to take advantage of North Bennington. Everybody wants to pay their fair share, but not one penny more.
That's right. Do you understand my point about
I understand your point.
services?
Fran?
Well,
Timing is
That-
a thing.
I understand what's been said here, but I think it's because they have to belong to an SVSU. Am I right or wrong?
Sorry, what?
You have to belong to an SVSU, correct?
Correct.
You do.
Okay, that's the figure. Now, all the rest of us has paid it. They need to pay theirs, just because that's the figure it is. Just a question for you, Ray. That's not a private school. What only because people think that North Bennington is a private school. So what exactly is it for the people watching?
We don't operate a school.
Okay.
We are a public school district. We offer choice to the parents of children in the pre-K, through K through 6 range, to approved independent schools, and to, if they choose, they can go, as one child is chosen, to go to Shasberry or any of the other public elementary schools in the area that they have access to.
Okay.
That's all on, in terms of, your school reviewed whether it had space for this child. They did, so they accepted the child. The Independence, Highland, Hall, and Southshire, they make whatever admission reviews they have. In our case, with the village school, we have a different arrangement. The village school operates as an independent town academy. What the town academy concept, which is older than the public school concept in the state, is one in which there's an agreement struck between the people who would send their children and the school that as long as they can agree on the amount of the tuition, all children from that town are accepted. There are no admission requirements, and the tuition will be paid by the taxing authority of the village.
I guess I've got I'm not comfortable second guessing the decision that was made a year and a half ago by a different board. The budgets in Shasberry and the Mount Anthony budget that Shasberry voters approved was based on numbers that were said at the time that would have been different if this $27,000 had been distributed differently. And I don't know what the argument was presented this budgeting season that changed the way the assessment was calculated, but I can imagine that the North Bennington share of this, the $27,000 of the total line for the SU, wouldn't necessarily have been, how do I want to put this? The total cost of the SU would have been the same, I can imagine, whether North Bennington received the services or not. Maybe you could argue that we could have cut somebody's salary or made some sort of cut, but you pulled out of the system. Was that automatically going to follow that there was a savings that North Bennington could realize or that somebody could realize?
Well, I think, no, there's no automatic savings. It's a matter of the Budget and Finance Committee looking for and directing that those savings be found in that amount. If they don't direct that, then you end up with the recommendation for a budget, whatever it is presented to you.
I guess.
And you make a decision about that.
Yeah.
But my point is that, in fact, that is a decision. It's not, you have proposals from the administration, and often you send them back requesting changes and adjustments. We spent an extensive amount of time this last time going through that process. The previous year, in 2014, there was an extensive amount of time devoted to that because of the necessity of the Bennington School District attempting to find a way to get its budget passed by its public. They asked for a number of different changes, some of which were accepted by this board, some of which were not. We were not given the opportunity to continue the argument that I would have liked to have made and didn't really get to make in that budgeting finance committee part of the process for adjustments and changes in those
Can I-
assessments.
Ray, I'm also curious, why have you waited until now to make this request?
I didn't wait. But in fact, since we have a surplus, it seemed like it was an appropriate time to ask. And in fact, Mr. Pembroke suggested that I do so.
That's right, at a meeting. I
Yes.
heard.
So I took him up on that, and he's worked with me very generously,
He's gonna
giving me
clarify.
time. He didn't
I mean-
say he was gonna argue for me.
I mean, put it into context for a minute, Ray. I mean, I was at a North Bennington meeting, you said, we're not paying this bill, and I said, well, I'm not sure you can actually refuse to pay a bill, you gotta go back and have a conversation.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to help you with that conversation,
Yep.
I mean, please put it in the correct context.
That is the context. I have board members who would like not to pay this because they don't believe that I believe they're correct, that we're not receiving these services. We've paid every other part of the assessment. We've paid something like 72,000 of this assessment.
I would, if this motion fails, I would wholeheartedly, in the next budget round, pre-vote for you.
I don't think you can do that.
If you do
No,
the
no.
rebate,
But I think the appropriate ongoing, it's going to be
Discussion.
around for a long time,
Discussion.
is that in the next session, Ray says, North Bennington presents the plus or minus, we didn't pay enough, we paid too much. At the budget meeting, we just have a line there, we're over or under for North Bennington, and roll into the next year.
this board, as I paraphrase statute, can do anything they want with assessments. You either assess based on your pupil population,
Right.
or you can say, Mount Anthony, you pay 200% of the assessment, and everybody else gets a $50,000 rebate. You can do whatever you want, but you gotta do it in the context of the budget process.
And I'm just saying is,
That's
what's
what
done
you're
is done, and we're all sympathetic, and it's gonna be an ongoing thing with North Bennington. Every year you tell us how we did last year, and you ask for a plus or minus.
I'm not sure we're all
Well,
sympathetic.
Ray brought up a point.
That's before we vote on the budgets. That way it's on a live budget, and
Well-
we're all voting for it.
Well, Jim, Ray brought up a point that said that when this was being vented at the Finance Committee meeting, it wasn't completely handled. Was that right?
That is, from my point of view, that's correct. Now, Rick disagrees with me, but I will say that we only had one very brief discussion because I had to go somewhere.
It was on the agenda at least twice, if not 3 times.
And it's discussed extensively. That was
And Ray
On
had
which
to leave
agenda?
at least once, if not a
The Budget
couple
and
times.
Finance Committee agenda?
Call the
We
question.
didn't get around to it
No.
very often.
Actually, I
And
think
the
we
one
did.
time that I remember, we had a very brief conversation. We could have moved it forward in that meeting, and it didn't get moved forward.
Fran?
I guess, I suggest every
Let's
district,
call the question.
all surrounding districts come at the next time, I want a $50,000 reduction then. If we're gonna give it to North Bennington, then I want Shasbury to have it. I want BSD to have it. I want Pownell to have it then. If that's the case.
Again, I make the point, we are different, we're a non-operating district, we don't have a school. You guys have schools, there is a considerable difference there. And I do think, I think, Ken, we've probably gone, unless someone else has some
Guess the
different
last,
point.
I call the question.
I'd call
Okay,
it a
call the question, not debate. Okay, Ray made a motion to have the assessment reduced by the 27,000, seconded by Leon. All in favor? One, two, three, four
We
in
get the
favor?
names.
And against? One, two,
get
three,
names.
4, 5.
Do you need a David, do you need to see the votes again?
I think I've got everybody who was in favor of it, so.
Your motion
Can I ask
fails.
a procedural question? Not on this vote at all. But I understand the chair not voting is an option of the chair.
That's correct.
We just had 5 to 4, so you could have tied it.
It was to break ties, not to make ties.
Right.
Thank you. I remember that one. I was just curious how that works.
Yeah.
Tie is a failed vote anyway.
Okay, next.
Ken, next brief comment. Thank you for listening and participating in this discussion. Appreciate the consideration. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, well, next item is not on the agenda, but it was mentioned that we need a motion to accept the teacher's negotiated contract. We all have passed it. in our local-
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, Ray would not vote.
Teachers
Ray
negotiation.
would abstain,
Oh,
Ray
you
would
think he's
abstain,
a,
okay.
so unanimous.
Extensions?
Yeah, as an SU member, I
Yes, you, I
sense I
suppose you.
have employees. So I'll vote.
He votes for,
It's
okay.
unanimous, isn't it?
Unanimous?
For, unanimous. Okay, 6, new business approvals
Before
submit.
you go on, I have the signature page for board chairs to sign on behalf of their districts. Ray would not, they're not a party of the teachers' agreement for North Bennington, but I'm going to send it around. The date of your board meeting where you approved it is actually there in pencil. You can just take the blue pen and write in the same date or write over the date so that you have the date in blue pen with your signature. So it's board chairs will be signing this. If you can send it around, just try to get these signatures on the teachers' agreement. Thank you.
Okay, we need approval to submit consolidated federal grant applications.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
Don
Discussion?
is here if you'd like a brief overview, but there's a
think they're all
background. Okay.
All in favor?
What was this now?
It's
Consolidated federal grant applications.
Okay.
All right,
I got it.
unanimous. Okay, personnel, job description, administrative assistant, early childhood education.
There's a background sheet in your packet. Karen's here to talk to both the job description and the change in the position from a secretary to administrative assistant. What I will say, just as, well, I'll let you start and then I can do a commentary after, a comment after. Go ahead, Karen, very briefly.
If you, in your packet, if you just look at the justification sheet for the change in the position, you've heard me speak before about the volume and the change in workflow for our department in the current time, and also as we anticipate implementation of H-270. And while we're in a position of our current secretary retiring, it made sense to do some reflection on the work that she had been doing and the work that will be coming. And so I had identified in the justification the increased responsibilities, which would be related to the implementation of H-270, the current work we're doing with Act 62, which is increasing community partners, the increased responsibility that we have for preschool and kindergarten enrollment and transition, and then just really feeling that we needed more administrative support. We're finding ourselves with lots of data systems, and we really need someone with a skill to be able to manage that, so that we can be able to be data ready when anyone needs that information. One, for our own purposes, but two, as for accountability purposes, both for the board and the state. So I'd be glad to answer questions about that. Catherine, you were going to talk about the
Yes. The salary range on the job description is the current range of administrative assistants. As you know, we're coming forward with a compensation proposal in the fall. So in the justification sheet, in the cost implications, that is actually based on a higher range in case the two coincide, or we have an applicant that will be recommending at a higher level.
So what are you gonna use, the 36 or the,
Well, we're going to base it on the experience level. We're looking at that range initially. That range is not advertised. We don't typically put our ranges on the advertisements.
Shouldn't it be on the job description? I mean, you've got,
Yeah, it says pending review, and eventually we may be removing them from job descriptions. Typically, they're not on the job descriptions, but our practice in the past has been to keep them there. So Joy will be from HR making some recommendations on job description formatting.
And I had requested a higher, that the pay range be reviewed, because I really need a very high-quality person that can really take on the load that we're going to be having.
Right.
And so I need someone with some high-level skills in order to manage the new business that's going to be coming our way.
And she still will have that ability to come in with a candidate at a different range, but it's part of the long-range plan to really come back with a structure of compensation.
Okay, any questions of Karen? If none, can we have a motion to accept the job description for the administrative assistant to early childhood?
So moved. Second.
Second, any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Next, change in position, early childhood education secretary 2 to administrative assistant. Can we have
So-
that?
So currently, we have a secretary too, and as we go out to advertise, I'm asking the board, utilizing the administrative assistant job description to post so that we can fill that position because Helen has retired.
So need a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Okay, Leon. Discussion on this one? All in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, next, increase in pay range for educational interpreter.
You also have a background sheet. Joy is here to, just a quick, they may not have had a time to read the background sheet. Joy, if you could just give a quick overview of the fact that we have a deaf program at the high school and need to replace employee.
Yes, we do. We do have a deaf program at the high school. We historically have had 4 employees within that program. 3 have recently left. We have 1 remaining. We have a very small number of students who will actually be finishing next year in this program, so we do need to still offer these services for 1 year. This is a really competitive position right now. The Austin for the school for the deaf is closing in June of 2014, so this month they are closing, and as a result, districts all the way across the region are having to compete for these specifically skilled employees. And again, 3 of our former employees here have already left for these higher paying positions. We would like to maintain consistency in service for these students for the final year. And therefore, we're recommending an increase in pay from $26 an hour to $35 an hour for the educational interpreter, who is going to have to pick up some additional responsibilities to cover what has been occurring, in the last several years.
We
This,
anticipate it.
because of the fact that we have, we will only be paying 1 employee, there's actually a net savings in the budget, even with this pay increase and the additional days of a little more than $10,000.
So moved.
Second.
A question? Joy, that's a $9 raise. Were we, I know you're doing this overall survey. Were we underpaying her all this time, or the market has gotten to you guys?
The market has really heated up. It's hard to say whether we were underpaying or not. This is a really limited candidate pool that has a pretty specific skill set. And, so if we've been underpaying, the individuals have stayed until recently.
Do we have deaf students who are going into their senior year next year only, or do we have other students in other grades?
We actually cannot give specific, yes,
Okay,
the
I'm
answer is
sorry.
yes, but we can't give specifics about it.
Yeah, more than likely. And the program has been worked well, so, here.
Okay.
It has been a significant, the program has been a significant savings as opposed to
Yes.
alternative residential placement.
Right.
Can we have a motion then to
We already-
approve?
Already
Oh,
got
did?
it.
Okay.
Yeah, they did.
Get a vote.
Okay, all in favor? That's unanimous.
Unanimous.
And then D, planning for personnel action, July, August authorizations for letters. of
My
intent.
last day is June 30, and therefore, you have an interim superintendent coming on. Your intention is not to meet until your August meeting, which is the 27th of August, so you've got literally 2 months in which we have vacancies, in which we must provide letters of intent or authorization for the chair or chair, vice chair to approve hires. So I would like you to take a motion, or to make a motion to plan for that.
So moved.
Which one? Do you do letters of intent from the interim superintendent, or would you prefer to have the chair
Interim
sign the?
superintendent.
Well, I just soon have the chair if that's the case.
Yeah, another board has done it, it is allowed.
Yeah.
I'd like to add, or vice chair,
Chair and vice chair?
or,
Okay.
no, or vice chair. Either,
Well, it's just one after the other. The two work together for no matter what, so.
if Ken's not available,
You got Fran.
Fran.
Call me then.
That's normal.
Is this signatures, just signatures? I'm sorry, I missed.
Signatures on work agreements as opposed to letters of introduction or letters of intent to hire. So authorizing your chair and your vice chair to actually do the approval of the nominations for hire.
Call the question.
Okay, all in favor of that? Okay, against? Abstain? Okay, one abstention, Ray. Okay, next is the consent agenda. We do have the adjusted one that was included in the Catherine's packet.
Yep.
It's in red. Couple nominations, a couple retirements.
move we accept.
Motion accept, second, George?
Yep.
Okay. Question? Seeing none, all in favor of the consent agenda? Unanimous.
Excellent. Thank you.
Leon's supposed to have this too.
Leon
Okay, Leon.
has an additional motion.
I'd like to issue make a motion, we issue a content to
Contract.
a contract to Wendy Pierce and Joy Cox for the 2015 start of the season, so.
Okay, can we have a second for that?
I'll
Second.
second it.
Second, George. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of offering those two contracts to Wendy and Joy?
Let's present it.
Unanimous. Okay, thank you. Now, policies. Leon, do you want to handle the policies?
We got here, the appointment of administrator other than the superintendent, for warning is available. And, a lot of work went into splitting this up. So this is out for warning to have this moved.
Okay, can we have a motion then to warn policy 4020, appointment of administrators other than superintendent?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous.
The next policy on here is 5140, commutable diseases, and this was just a review of the procedures that, to be updated, so it was not a policy change, just procedures. What we did recommend is that the particular nurses group at least recommend that the policy committee would like to recommend to this board that they ask the nurses group to come and have a discussion of these particular changes
To
for the
present.
public,
Make a
because they
presentation.
were some
Yep.
changes that may be confusing to the public out there, but it wasn't anything that affect the policy at all.
So the
Okay.
change in procedure is that we will no longer exclude children from school that have had lice, but families will be instructed upon how to remove the lice daily and to rid the child of of the lice. So Leon's saying that the request from the policy committee is that your next meeting, we have a presentation from the nurses on why that is recommended. And it's recommended by, you see a reference on your policy of the CDC, the Schools of Public Health, the Center for Health and Healthcare in Schools, the American Academy of Pediatrics. And the point here is they do not carry communicable disease. So
Okay, we
so
don't
it's
need a
just an
motion on it.
FYI, no motion on that.
There's no motion, I just wanted to
Just
make
an
sure that we
FYI.
get that in the minutes that
Yep.
we
Thank you, Leon.
do that,
Okay.
have that presentation, or ask for it.
Superintendent's report.
Right. So I wanted to let you know that we have received a $12,000 grant to support our efforts in the homeless area of supporting homeless students. And also that we have received notification of the VCPC grants for Woodford and Pownell. Karen and her new associate director, Carol Egan, will be presenting in the either the August or September meeting, a complete report for you on where we are in preschool, not only at the classrooms in the new Division Street location, but also for Act 62 and what we're anticipating in the rulemaking for Act 270. These amounts are not, and she'll also include what the request was from the foundation, and that these amounts are not the full request, but we were awarded these amounts. So I wanted you to know that. Congratulations to Rick Pembroke for being elected to president of the Vermont Association of School Business Officials. Congratulations, Rick. This is my last meeting of the supervisory union as your superintendent. I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the supervisory union and your individual districts. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful opportunity. I've learned a lot. I thank everyone on the boards and the supervisory union administrators and staff for support. We've moved ahead and with the principals in many, many directions. And we'll soon be welcoming Jim Culkeen as your interim superintendent at these meetings.
I'd like to take the opportunity, Catherine, to say thank you. I'm not going to speak for the SU, but I want to speak for Pownell. And I want to say thank you for the time that you have spent, the opportunity that you have tried to give to the children. You've always had their educational thoughts first and foremost. It's just unfortunate that you were just so busy that you couldn't complete everything that you wanted to, but what you did, we want to say thank you for doing it. And we want to wish you good luck in your next endeavor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice.
Well said.
Okay, under the charity report, I may have said this before, but the VSBA is having their regional meeting up in Manchester on the 15th of September, and the new Commissioner of Education will be there discussing most likely the scenario there where they want to condense all the SUs into a smaller number, and she'll be opening for questions, and she'll, like I say, it'll be at 5 on the 15th of September at the Manchester Elementary School. A meal will be provided before it starts, and all you'll have to do is go on vtvsba.org and register so they'll know how many people will be coming. Should be real interesting because the commissioner doesn't usually come down to these regional meetings, but Steve Davis was able to condense it into 6 meetings throughout the state, and she was willing to attend all 6. So it'll be nice. So just put that on your calendar. And again, I would like, in behalf of the SVSU, to thank Catherine for all the work she's done on behalf of all the children of the supervisory union over the past 5 years.
Thank you.
Right?
Could we just have a sense of the board and a little applause for Catherine for, how many years is it now?
5 as superintendent.
We will miss you.
Thank you.
A little applause?
And I'd also like to thank Donna Leap for the years that she's been here.
Yep.
For
Oh,
helping us
yes.
as well, our curriculum
Yes.
and assistant superintendent. Thank you.
Yes.
I think she should move forward here. Not getting out of her seat.
She's
She
hiding.
should get on camera at least.
Okay, the only other item we have here is setting the next meeting, which would be August 27th, on a Wednesday. Like Catherine said, it's just about 2 months from now.
Yes.
Anything else to come before the board?
That's the first day of school?
Is it?
August 27th.
Make a motion to
August
adjourn.
27th.
Second it.
Is it the first?
Yeah,
Okay.
We don't need an executive session?
we made your time.
No, we don't need executive session, do we?
No.
No? Oh, I thought we had to go back.
No,
in.
no,
Okay.
we
Motion
had,
to adjourn then?
I made it.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Second. All in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody have a nice summer.